Hello, everyone. Today we are going to focus on trying to find missing pieces when solving equations involving volumes of rectangular prisms. So they're going to give us maybe the width and the height, but not the length, or the length and the height, but not the width, or the length and width, but not the height. So we're going to solve for those missing pieces. Okay, it should be the foldable that looks like this on one side and that on the other. Let's go ahead and get started. With our first example, again, we're dealing with a rectangular prism. You have the same top and bottom shape, and that bottom shape is a rectangle, so rectangular prism. When we have a rectangular prism, the formula is base shape is a rectangle, so area of my base shape is length times width, and then times the height. So length times width times height. They actually told me what the volume was. If you notice right here, they told me the volume is 672 centimeters cubed, or cubic centimeters. You might see if it's written out. So I'm going to replace the V with 672. My length is actually unknown, so I'm going to leave that as L. My width, they told me, was 12, so I'm going to plug in a 12 for W, and my height was 7, so let's replace the H with a 7. Now I just go ahead and multiply that out. So bring down your 672, bring down your equals, and bring down your L, and 12 times 7 is 84. I personally like to rewrite it where my numbers are in front of my variable, so I'm going to rewrite it as 84L, but sometimes some people just skip this step and they go straight from here to here, and they don't even bother writing it like that. Okay, but I just like to get in the habit of always having my number first and then my variable. Okay, so now I want to get L by itself. So I look at it and it's being multiplied by this 84. The inverse of multiplying is to divide. So let's go ahead and divide by 84 to get it to cancel and get L by itself. And whatever you do to one side, you got to do to the other. The reason I did that is because 84 divided by 84 is 1, and 1 times L is just L. And then again, whatever we do to one side, we do the other. So 672 divided by 84 is 8. And oh, I'm dealing with volume, so it should be 8 centimeters cubed, right? Wrong. Okay, right here, we were solving for the length, and it even told me that the length is going to be singular centimeters. Okay, same thing with the width and the height. Their units are just centimeters. The volume has a measurement of centimeters cubed, but if I'm just being asked to solve for the length, it's just centimeters. Okay, so if they're asking you to solve for the length, the width, the height, or the perimeter, it's just centimeters or feet or inches, okay, to the single power. If they're asking you to solve for the area or surface area, then it would be squared. And if they're asking you to solve for the volume, it'll be cubed. Because notice right here, it said this is the volume. So the volume was centimeters cubed. But they were only asking about the length. So the length is just centimeters. All right, I think we've nailed it on talking about the different measurements or units. So let's go ahead and try an actual example again. Okay, so we have another rectangular prism, and we're talking about the volume of it. So let's write out our formula. Volume equals length times width times height. Okay, they told me the volume, so let's replace the V with what we know it to be equal to, 582.75 in this case. And then my length is 9.25 for this particular problem. My width, we don't know, so let's keep it as a W. And my height is 4.5. So let's replace the H with 4.5. Okay, let's go ahead and simplify that. So bring down the 582.75, your equal sign, and then 9.25 times 4.5 is 41.625. Bring down your W. I'm asked to solve for my width, so to get my W by itself, I'm going to divide by 41.625. Do the same thing on the other side. And we did that because 41.625 divided by itself is just 1. And 1 times W is just W. Yay, we got W by itself. which is what we wanted. So now do the same thing to the other side. 582 divided by 0.75, or sorry, 582.75 divided by 41.625 is 14. So my width is 14. 14 what, you ask? Centimeters. Okay, congratulations, you've done 2. Let's try our last one. Okay, this time they didn't tell me the height. The height is the unknown this time. So let's go ahead and always get in the habit of writing out your formula. We're talking about volume, so V equals, well, it's talking about a rectangular prism, so length times width times height. My V, they told me, was 379.5. And by this point in time, you should know that 1/2 is the same thing as 0.5. Okay, but if not, remember, you take the top, 1, divided by the bottom number, which in this case is 2. So 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. And since it was 379.5, don't forget to put that 379 out in front, because the 1/2 is just talking about the 0.5. Okay, so now we have volume. I'm going to replace it with 379, not in a half, but 0.5. Because 1/2 is the same as 0.5, and dealing with decimals is a little bit easier when we're plugging it into our calculator. My length was 4. My width was 16.5. We now know for sure that 1/2 is 0.5, so let's just replace it with 16.5. And my height is unknown, so I'm just going to bring down my h. Let's go ahead and simplify this. Okay, bring down your 379.5. Multiply out 4 times 16.5, and 4 times 16.5 is 66. Bring down your h. And then to get h by itself, we want to do the inverse of multiplying, which is dividing. You divided 66 by itself, so it would cancel. Don't forget whatever you do to one side to do to the other. Okay, and 66 divided by itself is 1. 1 times h is h. That should totally say an H and not a W. And then 379.5 divided by 66 is 5.75. Okay, so my height, not my width, we'll pretend that wasn't there, is 5.75 centimeters. Congratulations, you guys. No matter what piece of information was missing, you have now mastered being able to solve for that missing piece. Okay, so just always write out your formula, plug in what you know beneath each letter, and then solve for your missing variable, and make sure you actually write down the correct variable. And then your answer, if it's asking for just a singular measurement like length, width, or height, is just centimeters or feet or inches. Okay. Your foldable, if you look at the left side, you just want to fold the left towards the right, almost all the way, but not quite, so that this part is still showing. And then if you want, you can cut along those little dotted lines if you want, and then it'll look like this. Congratulations, guys. You now know how to solve for a missing piece regarding solving equations with volume of rectangular prisms. Congratulations at mastering yet another concept. See you later.